one of those techniques, when I first heard it in heavy metal, I never could quite figure out what it was. You know, going back to the older Metallica, Slayer, Megadeth, all those cool thrash metal bands, they had this cool thing that they did called galloping. And it's just a very simple 1, 2, 3 alternate picking. We're about to get into this, and I've got a killer lesson and exercise for you today. And this is an easy one to expand on as well. Now, there are a few little caveats that kind of makes this an advanced galloping lesson. We'll talk about that as we get into the lesson. Real quick, if you're a Patreon supporter, you have the tabs and the backing tracks to this lesson, and also hang around for our guitar chat at the end. First, I'm going to play the riff out here in the open, and of course, I will slow it down as we get into the lesson. I'm going to walk you step by step through this riff, because there's some really cool things that happen here. So here's the riff. If you're new to this technique, all galloping is just really fast alternate picking, but it's kind of a quick and snappy alternate pick, and it's just 3 times. 1, 2, 3. That is it. And of course, you're palm muting while you're doing that as well. Now, I don't think the palm muting is required for it to be galloping, but it does give that, like, you know, some demon bulls are chasing after you or something like that, okay? So it gives you that effect with a palm mute. So real quick, just watch my hand here, watch my pick. I'll gallop just a couple of times here. Now, if you are brand new to galloping, or if it's one of those techniques you just can't seem to get down, I've got a beginner's galloping video. I'll put that up here, so go watch that and then come back and watch this after you go through that. That video has helped a lot of people get over that hump and just get this galloping technique down. Now, a lot of times the galloping is performed with just one note, like I just played, okay? The 1, 2, 3 on that one note. That's very common. However, in this riff, we're actually going to be adding a couple of notes in there, and that's what makes this a little bit more, I don't want to say difficult, but a little bit more challenging. But you will get through this challenge, I promise. So let's start out with the first part of the riff. I'm going to play this through one more time, and then we'll start with that first part, okay? So the very first part is this right here. First, we start right out of the gate with the 1, 2, 3 gallop, but the 1, 2, 3 goes from one note to another note. So real quick, the frets that we're playing, we're on the A string, okay, we're on the second string here. The frets are going to be 5, 3, and 2. That's all we're playing in this. I like to break it down and simplify it, you know, piece by piece, because then it makes it a lot easier to grasp. You heard a lot of notes in there, but really you only heard 3 of them. That's it. So back to the galloping part, we're starting on that 5th fret. I've got my pinky on the 5th fret there, and we're going to go from 5 to 3. And this is where the little galloping technique, this is where it can kind of get a little tricky, okay? Because we're doing that in the middle of the gallop, all right? So we're going 1, 2, 3, okay? 1, 2 on the 5th fret, and then that last gallop, okay, is going to be on the 3rd fret. So on the 5th fret, you're going down, up, then you switch to the 3rd fret for that down, okay? 1, 2, 3. Down, up, down, okay? And the key is to get a little bit faster at that. But I would just go through that. I would just pause the video right here and just go through that. Might seem a little boring at first, but again, if you're having trouble, then again, pause the video and just practice that. Okay, 1, 2, 3, changing that note in the middle of that gallop, okay? The first 2 picks are on the 5th fret, and then that last pick of the gallop, okay, the 3rd, is going to be on the 3rd fret. And I didn't mean to harp on this, but I know this can be a little tricky, so hang with me, okay? All right, so let's finish out that riff. So all we're doing here is just following through on down to the 2nd fret. And remember, the most difficult or most challenging part of this riff here is that gallop, okay? So you've got the gallop, and you're changing the note right in the middle of that gallop, okay, from 5th fret to 3rd fret. We're following through to the 2nd fret, just normal notes here, we're still palm muting. Then we hop back over to the 3rd fret, then back to the 2nd fret. Now, I don't palm mute that 2nd fret. That's the transition note that I'm using to go from the first part of the riff to what I call the 2nd part of the riff. And again, I like to break things down like this for you. We won't take as much time on this next riff here because it's essentially the same thing on a different string. This is the cool part about writing music. You can come up with something really cool. It's like, hey, well, let's just replicate that on a different string or just somewhere else on the fretboard, and it just kind of flows together nicely. So in any case, let's go over that one more time, and then we'll move on to the next part of the lesson. So I'm going to start this where we left off on that 2nd string, okay, 2nd fret. And remember, that note is played open, and then we fall over to the E string there, okay, and everything we play from here on out is going to be on the E string. So once again, that kind of simplifies this lesson here, this exercise, okay. So we're essentially going to do the same thing, but we're going to play those notes all the way through first. So that means on the E string, we're going to play the 5th fret, 3rd fret, and 2nd fret. Then we're going to start back on that 5th fret and essentially do the exact same thing we did on the A string. So there's a little process, and I didn't really think about it this way when I was writing the riff, but it just kind of worked out really nicely. So in any case, let's play through. I'm going to start from what we just learned, and then I'm going to follow through to the notes on the E string, the 2nd part of this riff. Okay, so again, after that first part of that riff, we head over to the E string, 5, 3, 2. Then, after that, we play that exact same pattern on the E string as we did on the A string earlier, okay? So it's this. That's it, okay? Now, there's another part to that riff here. Actually, there's 2 small parts here. We're going to go through those. So here's the 3rd part of this, and I'm going to start from the beginning, and I'll end on the 3rd section here. All we're doing here is an open E string, then we're going to go to that 1st fret followed by the 3rd fret. Pretty simple. And you notice, real quick, I want to point this out, and this kind of gets into maybe a little bit of music theory here, but the normal, quote-unquote normal fret that I would play in this key of E minor would be that 2nd fret, but this is where metal music gets really cool. I went to that 1st fret instead, which is an F, okay? That F note is not in the key of E minor, but it's one of what I call, and there's a technical term for this, but I like to call these off notes, because really they sound a little off, but it makes the riff sound a little bit more wicked. You hear this a lot, right? Okay, that F and that B flat, they do not fit in the key of E minor, which we're essentially kind of playing in here, right? Sometimes metal just jumps all over the place, but I just wanted to point that out because you might be thinking, well, we're playing that 2nd fret of the E string, but you went to the 1st fret this time. So that's just a little, I guess, hint there when you're writing music. Don't be afraid to venture out and try something that doesn't seemingly fit, okay? Because you can come up with some really cool stuff that way. Remember, there are no rules in music. As long as it sounds good to you, be honest with yourself. If it sounds good to you and it's something that you can be proud of, hey, you know what? Go for it. All right, we usually save that stuff for the guitar chat. Don't forget to stay tuned for the guitar chat at the end. We've got some cool stuff to talk about. All right, let's finish this out, guys. So the last part of this, and this gets a little, I don't want to say complex, but a little challenging at the end here. It's going to be this right here. And I'm going to play the entire riff through. Pay special attention to the last part, okay? And I'll go ahead and tell you, I'm going to be playing some notes on the 3rd, 5th and 6th fret of the E string. So pay attention to that very last part there. All right, so here's where we get a little snappy. Now, the one thing that I want to tell you is we're doing things a little backwards here. So remember, in the beginning, on the first two parts of that riff, we downstroke and upstroke, okay, like 1, 2. That's 2 of 3 of the gallop, right? So the 1, 2 was on one note before we went to another note to play that third part of the gallop, okay? Remember this right here. All right, so 1, 2, same note, 3, different note. Well, we switched things up on these little gallops that we're about to do. So we're going to gallop once on the one note. The first pick of that gallop is on the one note. Then the next 2 picks of that gallop, remember the gallop is 1, 2, 3. The next 2 picks are going to be on a different note. So a slight little change here, okay? So what we're doing here is we're going to play the 3rd fret, okay? That's the first pick of the gallop, then open E string, and that's for the next 2 picks of the gallop. So again, at any time in this video, guys, you can pause it here and just practice that, and I encourage you to do that. You know, take your guitar out, spend some time on this, and just micro focus on the certain parts until you get it. Now after that, I do palm mute the open E one more time before doing the same technique on the next series of notes, which instead of 3 and open, we're going to go 5 and open, okay? Hear that pattern right there, okay? We're doing the gallop, 3rd fret, starting on the 3rd fret, then the next 2 picks of the gallop are open. We're going to palm mute, this will be a downstroke, palm mute that open string one more time. Then we're going to perform that same technique, okay, on the 5th fret. Now there's one difference, and I'll share what that is, but let's go through this one more time. This time, between frets 5 and 6, we're not going to perform that extra palm mute that we did. We're going to go right into that with the 6th fret, and of course the open E, and then I'll have a couple of palm mutes to end it on with the open E after that. So I'm going to play this slowly, okay? I'm going to play this a few times, so just pay attention to what we're doing here, and then I'll start out by playing the entire riff so you can hear it in its context, and then we'll just hammer on that last part there, okay? Guys, it is time for our guitar chat, but real quick, if you like riffs like what you just heard, you'll love Module 7 in my course, Metal Riff Master. I've got a lot of galloping and just a little bit more complex riffs when you get to that module. Those of you who are in the course, Metal Riff Master, definitely go back to that module if you haven't gone through it yet, because that one can be quite challenging. There is a link in the description of this video for my course, Metal Riff Master. Now, if you're just starting out, I have a beginner's metal guitar course called Metal Guitar Apprentice, so definitely check those out in the description of this video. Now, the biggest takeaway for this lesson that we just went through, this really cool thrash metal galloping riff, is you're going to be tempted to want to increase the BPM. Again, my Patreon supporters, you guys have the tabs and backing tracks. So the BPM for this riff, what I played it at in the beginning of the video, was 176. You're going to be tempted to bump that up. Of course, if you're not a Patreon supporter, you don't have the backing track, you could just set like a metronome or set like a drum program, you know, get like a really cool metal drum program. Easy Drummer has a lot of that stuff. I think I've got their Metal Machine pack and the Death Metal pack. I believe that was one of the double bass in their death metal pack that I used for this. So in any case, and I'm not affiliated with Easy Drummer at all, it's just something that I use because, well, it's kind of easy, especially for videos like this. Bad pun, Jason. Anyway, so you could set that, or again, just set a metronome. If you have a DAW, like I'm using PreSonus Studio One, I know they're not metal, but there are actually loops in your DAW. Most all DAWs have that. I only say that to say this: make sure when you're practicing stuff like this that you're practicing to enhance your timing as well. Not necessarily speed, but timing. That's more important than anything. And again, the BPM of this riff that I originally played it at is 176, so plug that in and hey, fire away and have fun with it. But you will be tempted to increase the BPM. That's okay. You might increase to, 185 or 200 or 2 whatever. That's fine. The one thing though that I want you to ask yourself is this: does it sound good at that faster BPM? Or does it sound better maybe backed off a little bit? And maybe you play it faster than what I played. This wasn't a super fast like speed lesson. It wasn't designed to be. It was designed really to just get you focused on this galloping technique and using some different notes within that gallop, okay? That's where things get really, really cool. But again, you can play it faster. You can bump up the BPM and play it faster and put something in there that's kind of challenging for you. But again, I just want you to kind of back up for a second. It's like, okay, does it really sound good at this BPM? Meaning, can I hear all the notes that I'm playing with clarity? Hey, record yourself in the studio, or if you just have a click track or metronome and you want to film yourself on your iPhone or smartphone, kind of like I'm doing right now for this video. By the way, I just used the iPhone, what do I have? I think the iPhone 12. That's what I shoot all my videos with. If you guys would like for me to do a video on everything that I use to film these videos, I know this is way off topic, but hey, let me know in the comments. I've been thinking about filming something like that for you, the gear I use to record these videos with, which is not a lot. But if you guys want to know about that kind of stuff, let me know in the comments. Back to the BPM and the riff and all that. Faster doesn't always mean better, okay? Just because you can play something fast or super complex, it doesn't necessarily make it better. It might make it more challenging to play for you, and it might help you get your chops up to speed, no pun intended, but it may help you, become better as a guitarist and become more fluent and more articulate with your playing. That is true, because if you can play a riff faster and then if you can bump it back down a little bit, it's like, okay, now I've really got this. So there's no harm in doing that, but I just want you to be honest with yourself. Does it truly sound better? Like if you're writing a song, if you're writing something for your band or for yourself, does it truly sound better if I play it this fast? It might. It may indeed sound better if you play it that fast, but it might sound better if you back it down a little bit. So just know that you can decrease the BPM, the speed of your playing, or you can increase it. There's no right or wrong answer here. Just be honest with yourself when you play back. Does this sound better or does that sound better? And I guess my main point is to always do what's best for the song. Not your ego as a guitarist, not how fast I can play or even how slow I can play, right? Eric Clapton, what was he called? Slow hand, right? Do what's best for the song, and that's gonna bring out the best song, okay? So I hope that makes sense. I hope this resonates with some of you. But guys, I truly hope this galloping lesson helps you. I hope it helps you get over that hump, and more importantly, I hope that it helps you create some of your own riffs using this technique, especially having multiple notes within the gallop there. So one more thing, I encourage you to take this riff and expand on it, okay? I meant to share this with you earlier, but you guys know by now, this is what I always encourage you to do. Don't just learn my riffs. Don't just learn what I'm showing you. Expand after that. Add some notes. Play these notes in different places throughout the fretboard. Take the concept and just run with it. That's how you become a better guitarist and musician. So again, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed, ding that little notification bell, and I will see you on the next video. Until then, keep it metal.